These are the notes for section 1.4 angle measures. Our objectives will be I will be able to measure and classify angles, and I will be able to identify and use congruent angles and the bisector of an angle. First off, let's make sure we know what an angle is. The definition of an angle is it is formed by two different rays. Don't get thrown off by that split there. It should just be one thing. It have a common endpoint. The rays are called the sides of the angle. The common endpoint is called the vertex. So if we take a look at this angle right here, we can name it a few different ways. We can name it angle ABC, we can name it angle CBA, or we could name it angle 4. Using our vocabulary, we would say the vertex is point B. So remember, when we write a point, we write a dot first, and we would say the sides are ray BA. Remember, you start with the end point and you go out through a point that you touch. The other side of the angle, we start at B and we go through C. So it'd be side, which is ray BC. So those are the vertex. The vertex is a point, and the sides are rays. Some people struggle whenever they name an angle. Let's talk about that for a second. Angle ABC. You see how my pen touches A, and then it goes to B, and then it goes to C. I can also go the other way where I would touch C, and then B, and then A. The middle letter is the vertex. So since the middle letter is B, that means my vertex is point B, which is what we said over here. Let's take a look at the examples. We're going to use the diagram to the right. It says name all the angles that have B as a vertex. So here's B. You should see there are 4 angles. One angle we can name is angle GBA. I go from G to B to A. I can also name this angle here. I can name it angle ABD, but instead I'm just going to name it angle 7. Do you see how there's a 7 right here? That's in between the angles, so I can name that. I can also name, there's a number of different ways to name this angle. I could name it FBD, DBF, a lot of different ways, but I'm just going to name it angle 6. We'll come back to that angle in the third problem that we have. And our last angle, I guess I'll name this angle, start with F to B to G. So let's call it angle FBG. Again, a number of ways to name that angle. Number 2 asks for the sides of angle 5. So let me erase everything that I have here. Angle 5 is right here, so the sides are ray BG and ray down there. We can call that BE. And remember, BF is also the same thing because we start at B and we go down to F. Number 3 says, write 2 other names for angle 6. So we talked about this a few seconds ago. Here's angle 6. Well, remember, we have to name it with 3 letters. So we do F, B, D. So we're going to say angle F, B, D. And let's come up with another name. Let's go D, B, E. So angle D, B, E. Again, B needs to be the vertex. Number 4 says, can I name an angle as angle B? Why? The answer to this is no. I didn't mention this above because I didn't quite want to confuse you, but we can call this angle angle B. We can do that because there are no other lines coming from B that could form other angles. If we take a look here, we have 4 different rays that come out from point B. So we can't just name it angle B. So no, because there are more than 2 rays that have B as an endpoint. So remember what an endpoint is. It's where the ray starts. Let's keep going down. We talk about congruent angles. Congruent is quite synonymous, very similar to the word equal. Congruent angles have equal measure. So the way that we would mark that is we would put this little angle mark here. And whenever we have the same number of angle marks, you see how they both have 1? That means that angle 1 is congruent to angle 2. So now that we know what congruent angles are, we can say what an angle bisector is. To bisect means to cut in half. So an angle bisector is a ray that splits or cuts an angle into congruent angles. So again, we would put these angle marks down to show that angle DGE is congruent to angle EGF. How we would write that, angle DGE is congruent. This symbol means congruent. We will be using this throughout the whole entire year, so it's important that you remember that. Is congruent to angle FGE. They have the same measure. So let's take a look at the back side of this page. We say TV is an angle bisector. So this right here is supposed to go here. So ray TV is an angle bisector of angle STU. Find the measure of the other 2 angles. Well, if it's an angle bisector, that means that these 2 angles need to be equal. So that's just going to be 37 degrees. So STV is just 37 degrees. The other angle we need is STU. So we have ST to U. We see that we have 2 37-degree angles, so we just add them up. So 37 plus 37, and we get our answer of 74 degrees. Numbers 7 and 8, again, we have ray TV as an angle bisector. So we're asked to find the measure of angle STV. STV is right here. Since it's an angle bisector, I know that this angle, I'm going to put 2 angle marks, is congruent to that angle. So the 2 smaller angles are the same. So since the whole thing's 137, we just need to cut it in half. We need to divide by 2. And whenever we do that, we get 68.5 degrees. The other angle is just VTU. We should know that that's 68.5 because, again, we can do 137 divided by 2. Or we can just see that this angle here has to be the same as this one. And we just found out that was 68.5. So hopefully that makes sense. If it doesn't, I encourage you to rewind it, and it should make sense without too much more instruction. So our last 2 examples here, we have ray BD is an angle bisector. So again, that means it cuts it in half of angle ABC. Find the value of X and the measure of angle ABD. So you always want to make sure you're solving for what it asks you for. Since this is an angle bisector, ray BD, I know that these 2 angles are congruent. They're equal. So I'm going to do my work to the left here. I have x plus 15 is equal to 4x minus 45 because it bisects it into two equal parts. The first thing I want to do when I solve an equation is to get all my x's on one side. So I have 3x minus 45 is equal to 15. And then I want to get my numbers on the same side, so I add 45 to each side. So I get 60 is equal to 3x, so the 45 goes away. And the last thing I need to do is divide by 3. Hopefully this is all review. So that means I'm going to have x is equal to 20 because 60 divided by 3 is 20. So I found x. So one of the things we were asked for. The other thing we were asked for was ABD. There's angle ABD. So we have x plus 15 is equal to angle ABD. We put this little m out front to signify the measure. So you'll see that, so I'm going to write it down there. So all we're going to do is substitute this 20 in for x. So 20 plus 15 is 35 degrees. That's equal to the measure of angle ABD. So again, I'm going to put the m there. And that's it. I found the two things I was looking for, x and ABD. We're told the same thing down here for number 10. So we're given that angle ABC, that's this whole thing, is 82. Just like we did above, we were able to figure out what half of this is. Remember, this bisects, so those two angles are equal. So 82 divided by 2, I'll do a little side work here, is 41. So that means both of those angles are 41. So we already have angle ABD, don't we? Angle ABD is 41. So the measure of angle ABD is equal to 41 degrees. That's it. We also need to find x. So I know that these two things are equal. So since they're equal, all I'm going to do is put an equal sign in between them. So 4x plus 25 is equal to 41. Again, my x's are alone this time. Like terms are good. So I need to move the 25 to the other side. 4x is equal to 16. And when I divide by 4, I get x is equal to 4. Found x, found ABD. The last thing should be a review. I think just about everybody knows this, but right angles have measure 90 degrees. So whenever you see a right angle, it kind of looks like an L, and it has this box meaning 90 degrees. Acute angles have measures less than 90 degrees. Obtuse angles, they're the big ones, have measures more than 90 degrees, but less than 180 degrees. And straight angles have measure 180 degrees. All straight angle is a line. 180 degrees. That's it for section 1-4.